kill your friends still. Boy, see me gun like a young chest bill. Don't be fooling me, telling the gun. You know the dung in a road and blood over spill top. Me and me big gun cannot draw nil. Gunshot a go shout your phone like nil. Murder informer from now until. What he call me if I then go mention kill. Yeah. Another word me give you to a young pill. Murder informer no accept me will. Kill or be kill, you see the talk until me big gun the cup of food. Your blood over spill. Kill or be kill, them say the talk until me big gun the cup of food. Youth man, foreigner no better roses. Don't fall on a guy and get foreign minded. Foreigner no better roses. Man reach a pint back in a one trousers. One more time. Foreigner no better roses. Don't fall on a guy and get foreign minded. Foreigner no better roses. Man reach a pint back in a one. Man left from Jamaica go find go get rich and put all I'm love on him just in this mitch. Anything in the world girl, why she get it all? The one bikini she have him give her. Now the man get by, go a prison, get deep and from the man with a Jamaica. The girl make a sit from the data, see the picture from the picture which is fit. 5 years the man there, and nothing nah shit, not even one phone call. Now a register slip and everything the man slave for. The girl in a rich, the bank book him put up her name in a hit. The big house him by a she live up in a hit. And the 190 pens that she a drive it. And me say she married to him friend Cedric, being him and I said foreigner no better roses, don't fall on no guy and get foreign minded. Foreigner no better roses, man. We shall find come back in a one. Listen, Chuck. Them leave the world in a suspense. Say them hiding us when them attack with experience. And see me work and take security treatment.
$200, you get me? I could have opted out at that time. Boy, now take the 145 and say, boy, let me see. Let me just call it George. So, people want to know Ramon. What would you?
I would probably give a prize to anybody who can guess which stock Omaro talking about based on the price. But, you know, so in investing, there are a lot of biases that we develop, right, as investors. And it's psychology. You know, what they call loss aversion is one. You know, well, it's more brought on by a situation where you maybe bought that stock at 100 Omaro and it's now at 70. Right? And persons are afraid to take losses. They feel like, boy, if I don't sell, then I really don't lose. And there is that concept that, you know, boy, a loss is only a loss until you realize it. But the fact of the matter is, you should never become blinded by an investment decision that you have made in the past, right? When you're making a decision in the present. You really have to contemplate whether things have fundamentally changed with the investment that you've made. And you sometimes have to take a hard decision to cut your losses and walk away. And there's nothing wrong with that. The fact is, in investing, the critical thing is to be right more than you're wrong. You're going to get it wrong sometimes. Just like with everything in life, you take a wrong turn on the road, but the key is to correct, right, and find back your path. You might lose 10, 15 minutes trying to get to the destination that you're going to. And the same thing in investing, you might get set back a little bit given what is happening in the market. But the key thing is to stay the course and find another way. Yeah. So to answer your question respecting, you know, loss avoidance or preserving gains, importantly, as I mentioned before, you can't shy away from doing the work to see whether the company that you've invested in is still fundamentally sound, right? Now, all companies have been impacted most of them negatively by this crisis, right? So not because a company's stock has fallen because of this crisis, we need to cut everything around. But as I said, what you need to be looking at, and it is important for you to get some help on this, most persons need help on this, right, is to take a critical look at the stocks in your portfolio and see whether post this crisis, the business that you invested in is going to be the same business, right? Or the fundamental reasons why you would have invested are still there. Is this thing still going to be an industry leader? Is it still going to be a cash cow? Are they still going to, do they have a long history of dividends ahead of them, right? Which is probably why you would have, you know, are they going to be able to pick back up their growth trajectory after a few months or maybe a year or so of recovery? Those questions are important. Or is the business now fundamentally fractured by this crisis? Yeah. You know, so those are critical questions to answer before you decide to take a loss. And just broad base, what I would say is, take a loss or sell at a price that's lower than the recent highs. Right? Remember in 2015, right, and let me use the largest capitalized stock on the market as a proxy, right? Well, let me go back even further. In 2018, I think NCB traded down as low as like $18, right? I remember one year in particular, it could have been maybe 2014, where the company posted an increase in profits, a sizable increase, and the stock actually went down. I mean, the market was really depressed at that time. Would it have been a bad decision to have bought NCB at the beginning of the year, given that the stock went down? No, because fundamentally, it was pointing that the stock was cheap, it's a buy.
Yeah.
Right? And ultimately, if you had bought then and held the course for a couple of years, you could have potentially sold at 200, which is at 10 times return, which is fantastic. Right? So, I say that to say, right, the market will always be the market. The market is going to go through ups and downs. And as investors, you're going to ride some of those waves, but don't be afraid to hop off of one surfboard, right, and get onto another. Don't be afraid to realize a loss in quotes and recognize a mistake, which may not have been a mistake when you made it, right? And move on to another opportunity.
Alright, hold on, Mark. I have a question. So Ramon, right? Suppose last year IPOs was a thing.
Yes.
Every 2 months a new IPO. Suppose follow the hype, buy into a particular stock. One that was positioned to have gains. So relatively cheap, about $1 or $1.20 when I bought it. But boy, from a buy it barely move. What would you say to do at this point in time?
Again, it comes back down to the fundamentals, and I mean, it might sound like a broken record, but it's important, right? What you want to do. Because sometimes these things take a while to move. I mean, there are a couple of IPOs, for example, that would have been launched during that broad 2015 to 2020 period that I was describing. And people didn't really see it initially, and it may have moved and stalled, and then ultimately, the company started to show and prove. I mean, names like Wisinko come to mind. There was an initial uplift, and then it stalled, and then there was a good bit of news around them, the plastic ban and styrofoam ban, but the company was so fundamentally sound that it shook off all of that negative news and ultimately went to as high as 30, I think, after listing at 787.
Yeah.
Right? So I said that to you to say, you really want to look at the specific company that you're talking about and gauge the fundamental outlook, particularly against the backdrop of COVID-19, right? You want to really see whether the $1.20 that you paid is still a good price. Right? Because you paid it at the time because you thought it was a good price. And that is really what is going to drive the decision. So don't let impatience get the better of you, right? Where you have this company and it does not move in and you're frustrated and you just sell it. That should never be the sole reason for you to sell a stock. You really have to dig down in the fundamentals. Sometimes the market may not like the same stock that you like at the time that you like it initially, which is good, which is important. You want to be the one that is breaking from the pack, right, and making decisions early, right? Now, it don't work out for you if you break away from the pack and the pack never catch up with you. Right? I remember I had a boss who used to tell me that if I am using a model to make my decisions that the market have no clue about, and the market not using the same model as me, the market probably not going to catch up with me. He say, why you're too bright for the market? Which was not a compliment. Right? So it's the same thing. You want to be making your decisions early, so you are going to have to do a little bit of work now to evaluate whether you're just early to the party, right? And the party actually going to end up nice around 1 o'clock, but you just have to wait 5 hours because you come very early, or you're at the party, and you're at the party at the time when the party is supposed to be nice and it's not nice.
Police will like that.
And police will come back. Right? So that is really what will decide whether you stay in the stock or you leave and go home.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So question per persons, viewers were taking questions for Ramon who want to know which stock to invest in, which sector is like to bounce back. after COVID-19. So if you have questions around this general area of investing, you can post the same in the comment and we tell them.
Or more, I know normally behind the scenes, but I have a lot of questions for Ramon. So given that the whole COVID thing is going into a digital age or a technological age, what do you think about the gains from a stock like T-Tech that's currently listed on the market? I think it still have some amount of growth to make, given that the COVID situation seems to kind of pass at this point in time, or is it one to watch?
So again, I can't give you direct advice on whether to buy, sell, or hold, but I can tell you what I think about the company. Right? So T-Tech was kind of a spin-off of, I think, a company that was related to Grace some years ago. Right? And what the company basically does is, I think, primarily IT outsourcing. And they listed at the junior market, and they started with a good bit of growth early out in their history. Right? Certainly, intuitively, one would think that given the enhanced IT needs that a lot of businesses may have now, coming out of this crisis, the need to be able to work from home, etc., a business like that would thrive. But it remains to be seen. I mean, they're definitely one of the more prominent persons in that particular industry in Jamaica. But if you look at the trend in revenue, it isn't really reflecting that there is explosive demand, or certainly it isn't reflecting that they have been capturing a whole lot of market share in the space. So if a lot of business has been going on in the space, it's not being reflected in their numbers. And I suppose it's kind of challenging to tell large corporations to fire their entire IT department and outsource, especially in this digital age where so much more business is being transacted via electronic means. There are so much more security concerns now in relation to these things, customer data. There has been an enhanced focus globally on data protection. The persons with accountability in organizations may feel a little apprehensive about kind of handing over the keys to the kingdom to an external company. So I suppose, this is me now, this is conjecture and kind of anecdotal. I suppose that may have hurt. But that being said, I don't necessarily expect an immediate upsurge in business for companies like theirs in Jamaica. Given some of those trends that I would have just mentioned earlier, I wouldn't say so. It is intuitive. A lot of companies in the United States along the same theme have benefited, like Zoom. I mean, their stock has completely flied, and even traditional tech. Even traditional tech like Microsoft. With all of the enhanced hardware, anybody in the business who never used to have a laptop need a laptop now. They have done well, but locally it's not as direct a correlation in my view, so I would watch it. I mean, I haven't seen the most recent numbers. To be honest, I need to get a little smarter about the company, but I would watch it before just making an investment decision on the fly.
One final question. Alright, so recently NCBA has announced that they have issued about $25 million worth of scholarships to institutions like accredited, Internet Income Jamaica, NCU Online Campus. So a company that's listed on the stock market like accredited, I think their stock has dropped from $1.01 to as far as 45 cents there, and they are now transitioning to more online classes. What do you think the overall impact would be for a company like accredited to step out of the post-COVID, step into the post-COVID era?
Answer your question and I will take this call. In terms of accredited, certainly they are well positioned to take advantage of trends in digital. I know the company has been struggling post IPO, whether it is sentiment driven or driven by company specific issues, management and that type of thing. That being said, they're certainly well positioned to get more business in the digital side of things post this crisis. Whether that makes the stock a buyer or not, that remains to be seen. A lot more work would need to be done there to answer those questions. So again, another one to watch.
Alright, so persons just joining in, we're taking questions from Ramon regarding investing at this time. So Bloomberg has priced in a 100% chance of a recession. We are exploring what are some of the opportunities we as investors can seize, or how do we need to hedge our portfolios so that we don't suffer tremendous hit further, right? So we're taking questions as a VAR commenting orange juice and rum, right? So una one definitely every week. So sponsored by Island Beverages. This week we have Ray and his nephew, and we have orange juice, and I see Ramon drinking coffee.
Yes,
right? Before I forgot, people, we have a gift voucher valid at $5,000 from Antoinette's Accessories, right? So I want to just tell you how you can win this gift voucher this week, right? We don't want to go into week 5 with this gift voucher. So persons who are just joining in, you can go on the page and follow the page. We are a few followers away from 1,000. Just go on the page, follow, right? The first, Anthony, look at this now. The first person to follow the page will win this gift voucher valued at 5,000 Jamaican dollars from Anthony's Accessories. Right? First person to follow the page. If you are not following the page, first person to follow the page. Right? So Anthony is our studio engineer. He will tell me who is the first person to follow the page. So we have a gift voucher valued at $5,000. First person to follow the page to get us to 1,000 will earn the gift voucher valued at 5,000. Who's the first person? So again, we're taking questions for Ramon. So persons just joining, we're taking questions for Ramon regarding investing. What are some of the opportunities we can look to seize in the Jamaican stock market at this time? Is the case that we need to be buying? Is the case we need to be holding? Or is the case we need to be selling? And what are some of the stocks that we need to be selling if we're already invested and we're losing, right? As said before, and I reiterate what Ramon said, pretty much Ramon is alluding to the fact that we need to just be holding, and much of the reasons we would have invested previously in the stock, fundamentally that shouldn't have changed as a result of COVID-19, right? If you would have invested on sound advice from your financial advisor, right, or you did your own research, fundamental analysis on the company, right? So this is where you're looking now at the company's balance sheet, the company's cash flow statement, and the company's income statement. And if definitely it's a healthy company, it's a company that is underpriced, right? Right at the time, you want to be holding firm in that company. So company with good strategic management, company whose core values, whose core business operation hasn't been 100% affected by COVID-19. Definitely you want to stay in that stock, right? And just weather the storm. So follow also our sponsor this week. Joining our sponsorship list this week is Antoinette Accessory. We have a gift voucher valued at $5,000. I see Anthony coming over with our winner. This is So Sick 20. So Sick 20. Just show by a raise of hand in the group. So Sick 20, you are the winner of our $5,000 gift voucher this week from Antoinette's Accessory. So Sick 20. Nobody to claim. So Sick 20 is the winner of our gift voucher valid $5,000 from Antonette's Accessory. And you guys can follow Antonette's Accessory at Antonette's, that's ANTOINETT Accessories, one word, Antonette's Accessories, right? So sick 20. So Siobhan, we're taking questions for Ramon, right, this week. So you know, I'm very kind to my brethren them who want to pressure them this week, and who want to ask them a lot of questions. What are some of the gems we can look to invest in this time, right? It's definitely an unprecedented time. I see my portfolio fall off by 30%, and even some days it rebounded, or some week it rebounded, right? I'm heavily invested in, let's say, for example, the financial sector. Is it the case that I need to be selling and maybe taking some small gains now, as opposed to what is to come when the recession kicks in? Or is it the case that I need to just hold firm and just weather the storm? So those are some of the things that we're trying to get at, right? So sick 20. So you are the winner of our $5,000 gift voucher. You're the first person to follow the page. Anthony, how far are we? We're doing good. Alright. So sick. I want you to follow Antonette's Accessories page. It's ANTOINETTE Accessories. Right? To claim your prize. It's a $5,000 gift voucher. So congratulations to SoSick20. He's the winner of our gift voucher this week. It's a very simple win. All you have to do is follow the page. Right? Siobhan, register. If you have questions for Ramon, you can go ahead and post them. I see Kids Boss commenting saying, we want to know the outlook for the commercial real estate, right? Let me see if I have a question from Vardistar. No question from Vardistar. Certainly I want some question from Siobhan coming in for Ramon, right? So people just joining in, we are on week 4 of navigating the financial storm. This week we're exploring what are some of the opportunities we can look to invest in, right? Or we can also hedge our portfolios against, right? Because certainly our portfolios has been affected. I'm not sure about yours, but mine has been affected by more than 30 or sometimes 40%, right? I'm just rebounding now, right? And actually, just to give you some insights, I've actually started to invest in the US market because just personally I believe that I'm getting more activity out of the US market as opposed to the local market that has been at a standstill for the longest while. The US market is still performing, and if you know me, I'm a person that works my money. You get me? My money don't sleep, right? My money is always working for me, so I definitely cannot afford to make this opportunity pass, because in 08, 09 I was still in college, right, doing my actuarial science degree. So now, working man, entrepreneur, have my own business, why shouldn't my money be working for me? So the question is, what are some of the sectors, what are some of the stocks that I can look to invest in? And certainly if you have questions for Ramon on the same line, I want to take them. No. It's a question coming in from Kedan saying, given the impact of the work from EEG. After 1 hour, it normally cuts off, right? So welcome back again. Taking questions from Ramon regarding investing in the stock market, the Jamaican stock market, right? So you haven't missed much. What we're talking about are investing. What are some of the hedging strategies that we need to be employing in our portfolios amidst recession, right? Bloomberg has priced in a 100% chance of a recession based on the COVID-19 pandemic. So what we're looking at this week, we're looking at what are some of the gems we can invest in, right? Because certainly in 08-09, that presented an opportunity for a lot of millennials, a lot of investors, right, to come out on top. So we want to come out on top, right? If you're a millennial like myself, you would have gone through more than 3 crises by now. And we want to see how best we can probably take an opportunity and make it into something great, right? We want to see how best maybe we can invest over $500,000 or $100,000 or $50,000, right? And turn it into $200,000, right? We're not seeing any IPOs, but we definitely want to know what are some of the cheap stocks we can invest in right now, because certainly there is difference between what persons perceive as cheap and what is valuable. So we are exploring that tonight. So Ferris, I see Ferris Jackson just joined in. Ferris, big up yourself. I say Embling just joined in. Chrissy, we're taking questions from Ramon. If you want to know what stocks to invest in, you can go ahead and post a question. What sectors are likely to bounce back quicker than the others? We're definitely taking questions from Ramon. So we are on week 4 of navigating the financial storm. Topic this week is recession assured. What's your next move? And as an investor, I want to know from the VP of a prominent investment brokerage firm, right, and also head of research, what are some of the sectors? What's that 1 or 2 or 3 companies I should be investing in at this time, right? So as to maybe break even, right? Add something to my portfolio that I didn't have before, right? Or definitely to find that 1 or 2 gem that will carry me out of this recession, right? Or this situation where we're in a decline, a steady decline, right? So want to know. We're taking questions from the group. Bravo! Big up yourself. Big up yourself, Bravo. Bravo just joined us. So Bravo is actually Richard Williams. Richard Williams we would have featured as a panelist in week 3, right? We're taking questions from Ramon. We want to know what are some of the stocks, what are the sectors that are likely to bounce back coming out of COVID-19. So, persons just joining in, we have in studios Ramon Small Ferguson. He is the VP of Asset Management. We're taking questions from Ramon regarding investing. Kids Boss, you might have to join us tonight. Kids Boss, you might have to join. I see Robbie just joining in. Still waiting on the question. So far we had a gift voucher valid at 5,000 Jamaican dollars, which will have been awarded to Sosic 20. So the catch was the first person to follow the page to get us to 1,000, right, would win the gift voucher. Certainly every week we'll definitely have prizes and surprises. We'll have gift vouchers valued more than $5,000 in some week, right? So we are ramping up the numbers and want to also find out which company you have in your portfolio, right? what are some of the companies you have in your portfolio that has taken a major hit coming out of COVID-19? Alright, so while we're here waiting on Ramon is actually on call tonight. He is the VP of a very prominent investment brokerage firm. Right, he's definitely on a call for a good while now. We want to big up our sponsors. So this week sponsoring this very strong bottle of white rum is Island Beverages, right? A key sponsor that keeps us going definitely in this time. Island Beverages would have been with us from week 1. We are now at week 4. And we want to also big up Black Knight Graphics, right? We also want to give a shout out to A&N Loan Hub, and we also want to give a special shout out to CAIA Studios, who does our video editing. So this week joining our sponsorship list is Antonet's Accessories. If you are not already following Antonet's Accessories, Antonet Accessories is definitely the sponsor of our 5,000 gift voucher this week, right? So you want to follow that page. So, Jordan Maestro, welcome to the program. If you have questions for Ramon, you can go ahead and post the same in the group. We're taking questions for Ramon regarding investing. What are some of the stocks? What are some of the sectors that we need to be investing in now, right? To seize opportunities or even to hedge against risk.
Well, Omaro, so you asked questions. So while we wait on Ramon, what are some of your stuff that you're still holding on? Because boy, I want to check them out, you know.
So truth be told, I have not sold any of my stocks, right? I am actually just watching them week over week to see if the performance rebound. I am definitely one of those investors that will definitely weather the storm. I'm not sure what's your outlook or what's your investment risk, because that's something I'm a risk taker, so not like everyone, right? So it's definitely a skill when it comes on to risk profile, right? You have risk averse persons, you have the moderate persons in the middle, and you definitely have the risky persons on the high end. So I am at the high end, right? I can weather the storm. I'm not sure how you can weather the storm, but I'll definitely take the risk.
So given the Prime Minister, Omaro, you're Prime Minister, and I say you're Prime Minister in your Richard, but the Prime Minister has announced that next week Monday it's business as normal. No more working from home. It's left to the employer's discretion at this point in time. Do you think that a second wave might hit us mid-June, July, or you think that things kind of normalize now?
Well, I definitely, just based on what I've seen in recent times, I've not seen where we have actually peaked, right? I've seen Jamaica recorded 500 and let's say 56 cases, right? Confirmed cases, and maybe let's say 236 or 230 of those cases being linked to Alarica. Just like the Spanish flu, which had a second wave, I don't see Corona not having a second wave. And just based on what I've seen, just doing essential businesses on the road, I've not seen where enough measure is being taken by the typical Jamaican to practice social distancing and also to wear masks and so forth. It's business or it's life as usual for the typical Jamaican man, right? Man being human being now. Right?
Yes, man, because traffic in Kingston already, you know.
So, civil engineer is also saying there's the same amount of traffic in Kingston, given now that persons are supposed to be working from home. I'm not sure what's your, so I live in a corporate here, I'm not sure what's your reality, right? And from what I'm seeing, it's definitely right. It's the same amount of traffic, right? No change. And when you get to the supermarket, definitely in each aisle, right? You don't see the 6th or 7th person staying. I'm not going in the aisle until I see at least 2 or 3 persons leaving. We still see a lot of persons saying, hey, I need to go down there and pick up my tin of mackerel, my tin of sardine. The same, you get me? We don't see that amount of social distancing being practiced in Jamaica. I'm not speaking about the United States now. I'm just talking about my homeland, right? My country, right? I'm using the essential places as a yardstick or as a measure to say if we as Jamaicans are ready for a reopening of the economy. I don't believe so, but maybe you can weigh in on the situation and tell me what's your reality. So people were taking questions, definitely seeing a few coming in. So as soon as Ramon returns, we'll have a question for him coming from Missy. Right? So Missy, your question will not go unanswered tonight. I'll definitely make sure of that. Excellent question, Chevron. So Chevron said, Omaro, like how the US market has been recovering much more than ours, should we be looking more overseas investment? Any recommendation? I can only tell you what I am doing. I am not a licensed financial advisor, as Ramon would have alluded to earlier. I am definitely an educator, right? So at BIInstitute, we educate persons on how to successfully invest, right? Using fundamental and technical analysis. Personally, I am not one to sit and wait for the government to do anything for me, right? Or even for, let's say, the stock market in Jamaica to rebound. So I have literally been more active in the US market, right? I've been invested in the US market for about 5 weeks now. It's not a long time, right? Meaning actively. It's not something that I've not invested in, but actively invested in the US market. And I can tell you, the US market is definitely more rewarding right now than in previous times. It's definitely a market that you have to watch. It's not like a Jamaican market where you can invest and hope that you get a return or you expect a return. It's something that you have to be watching a portfolio every day. So my recommendation is, if you have the guts, if you have the capital and you are able to invest in the US market, I don't see why not. If you're an investor like me, which is on the high end of the risk profile, right? Very risky, I can stand the losses and I can definitely profit from the gains when they come, right? I don't see why not. So a few sectors that I have been investing in are those sectors that are slated to rebound at a great extent during and coming out of COVID-19, which are the tech sectors, the medical research sectors, right? I'm heavily invested in those sectors. I won't tell you which stock. Maybe you can tune in next week and I tell you which stock.